This conference will now be recorded.
So these are the things we have done yesterday, right? We have seen pushing the images to Docker Hub, pulling the images from the public registry, the default registry, which is Docker Hub. So this is what we have seen, like creating some images here, like pushing some images into the repositories, right? We have understood the naming convention like a registry, username, repository, right? We have pushed the images. So, and also till now we are using some public images on Docker Hub like Ubuntu, Hello World, and so on. So what if we need to create our own images? Yeah, why do we need our own image first? Maybe to deploy our custom applications, enterprise level applications, which may need so many dependencies, right? We have to pack our application along with dependencies and create a Docker image. So once after you created your image for your application, means let me put it this way, once you containerize your app, containerize or Dockerize your application, like your application will be coming along with the dependencies, right? In the Docker introductory class, I have explained you like now developers will be sharing the Docker image, not just the WAR file or just your application code, right? They'll be packing your application along with the dependencies. So, okay, once image is created, do you think they just share it on Docker Hub? Maybe some companies may be doing it with the paid accounts, but still majority of the companies look for the more secured way of doing it with the private registries. Like we have discussed, the examples of private registries are, some of the examples are like ECR, right? Elastic Container Registry Service on AWS, or GCR on Google Cloud Platform, Google Container Registry. They serve best as a private repositories, right? So let us first look into those private repositories to store our images before we get into creating our own images. Yeah, so let's do that. Now, um, let's go to your AWS console. See, we'll be talking, there are hundreds of services on AWS. Okay, if you go here, see, there are hundreds of services on AWS. You need not learn all of them. Okay, you need not get worried about all of them. We'll be using a couple of them in our projects. So we'll be looking after the services whichever required for us. So just till now we were using EC2 service on AWS, right? Like which can help you create some instances for our lab. Now just go here and search for Elastic Container Registry Service. This one, ECR. Fully managed Docker container registry, share and deploy container software. Just go here. So here you could create a repository. See, the analogy is same. Like I said, whether it is a Docker Hub or ECR or whatever it is, the concepts would be similar. Same is the case with any other tools. So see, this is a registry service, like where you can store your Docker images. Just go here. Yeah. See here it is asking for you whether you want to create a private registry or private repository or public repository. You could choose any of them. Public means you can pull from anywhere, anyone can pull those images. Okay, private means only you should have the access, that's the difference. And you could create any of them for our lab, anything is fine. But to push, definitely you need to have, like, you need to have access to it. So I'm just creating a private repository here. And do you see here, your registry address is prefix. This is your registry address. Like here on Docker Hub, you see docker.io. Here you are seeing something like this. Okay, this is your registry address. And give some name, let's say repo1, okay, or else let's say image repository on AWS. Any name of your choice, just give some name and leave others as it is. Don't you need not configure anything else here. Just give the repository name and create the repository. So see here, this is your repository. You could compare them with the repositories we discussed on Docker Hub yesterday. Like sample is a repository, my image is a repository. Repository is to store like images, right? Inside the repository, you'll have images in the form of tags. So same is the case here. If you just go here, I don't see any tags, no images as of now. Only one repository, which is private. Similarly, you could also have created public repository. Anyway, I have created private repository because that is more helpful in real time. You create your images for your applications and store them on private repositories. So that's what I did. Now I want to push the image here. Generally, to push images to Docker Hub, either to private or public repositories, how did we do? If you recollect, first we have done Docker login. Isn't that you have to log into your Docker Hub? Yeah. Once authenticated, you could push the images, right? Same is the case here. Just go to our registry, select the repository, and you can see push commands. Like how do you push? See here, retrieve an authentication token and authenticate your Docker client to your registry. Here, Docker client is this terminal, okay, this interface. From there, I want to push to this registry means you need to again see here, get login. It's same like you do Docker login. Okay, see here, Docker login, username and password to the particular list. You need to get authenticated. So before authenticating, you need to have something called AWS CLI, means AWS command line interface. See, till now we are working with AWS from the console, like from the UI, right? We are just opening the console and doing the things. What if you want to manage or interact with your AWS services from the command line? Following everyone? So rather than doing from the UI, if you want to manage manage your AWS services from the command line, from whatever server you want to manage, there you have to install and configure two components called. So you have to install a component called AWS CLI. AWS command line interface. Okay, this is the component which you need to install on this particular server so that you can connect your AWS account and work with it. So this is like a software. Okay, you have to install this. Okay, and you need to configure it. Configure it means provide the credentials so that you can connect your AWS account from your command line. I'm repeating, to work with any AWS services from the command line, there is a software you need to use called AWS CLI, AWS Command Line Interface, a software which helps you to manage your AWS services from the command line, not from the UI. Okay, so if you want to do that, this is required. Okay, perfect. Actually, what I need from this particular, this is called Docker client, right? Like yesterday we did Docker login. We have entered our Docker Hub credentials so that we could push the images authenticated. Similarly, AWS Elastic Container Registry Service, we need to connect to it, right? So again, we need to do like Docker login. So that's a command it was showing, the AWS ECR login. Okay, you need to provide your credentials of your account. Okay, so to do that, to connect from your command line to the UI, in simple, to connect from your command line to the AWS account and work with AWS services, okay, you need to have this software AWS CLI. Once you install it, you need to put your AWS credentials to connect it. Okay, so first let me do this. Let me install this AWS CLI and we'll connect your AWS account so that we could push the images there. Okay, so how to install this? Here is the official documentation for this installing AWS CLI interface. If you just scroll here, there are again different versions of this software. AWS CLI version 2 is the latest. You could just go here. If you want to connect from Linux, okay, here are the commands. If you want to connect from Windows, also you can do. There are again connection from Windows. This is a document on Linux, I believe. You could also do it, yeah. See here on the left hand side, if you want to connect to your AWS account from the command line of your Windows, here are the steps. If you want to do it from Mac, yes, you have everything here. So ours is Linux. So just go here, run these commands. You can see the command here, right? So just copy this, come here, run the commands. Okay, it was installed. You could check the version. Your AWS CLI is installed in this path. You could check the version with this command, AWS CLI version. So done, you have got it installed. Now, yeah, you have to configure it. Means from here, you have to connect your AWS account. So to open this connection or allow this connection, you need to have the access key and secret key created. See, once you have your account here, your username, just come here. Go for security credentials. These access key and secret key are required for you to connect from your command line. See here, access key for CLI. So just come here, create a new access key. Okay, for the first time when you create it, it will give you a download option. Listen me carefully. For the first time when you create them, it will give you a download option. Likewise, I have created some access key and secret key, and yeah, I got them downloaded. Here are my access key and secret key. Okay, here are my credentials. Later on, I'm going to inactivate them. They should be confidential because with those credentials, anyone can access your account. So yeah, those are the credentials I'm going to use. Now, once your AWS CLI is configured, run AWS configure. Okay, so it will ask you for the access key and secret key you have just downloaded. Use those access key and secret key. Default region, you can just leave them. Done, it is configured actually. Now, yeah, you are authenticated. You are allowed to connect your AWS account. Now again, get the AWS register, container registry service login. Go to view push commands again. So see here, AWS ECR get login password for this region using Docker login. At the backend, it again runs Docker login. So just copy this. See, login succeeded. Okay, now you could push the images. So just come here and you have to tag it, right? See here, first build it. This is about creating your image. I'll explain this command later. Suppose if image is already there, you have to tag it accordingly. Okay, first let us get some image. Let me see which image shall I push. Docker images. I don't have any. You can tag them also. That is also fine. Let me do that. Docker tag, okay, Nginx. I need not put tag name because it's latest. If you keep also, that is fine. Now I want to tag it in the name which can help you push image here. See, it is also giving you any image, your old image should be tagged as such to push here. So copy this. Understood everyone? See, this is the registry address. Like I told you yesterday. Yesterday we have discussed. You could change your registry name or account name like username or repository, anything. You just tag it with whatever address you want to push. Okay, this is my AWS container registry address. This is my repository name. And this is the image name, right? So it means tag name. So I just want to give this tag. So I'm tagging the some Nginx image. Forget what this image is. Okay, let's say some sample image. What the image contain, what is that image all about, we'll learn. First, let us learn push and pull. Sorry. I have tagged it, so it should be listed under Docker images. Yes. Do you see that? Now I can push this. Where does this go? Will it go to Docker Hub or AWS Container Registry? Obviously, AWS Container Registry, right? Like we need not tell where that image should go explicitly. Everything, your image name speaks a lot. Okay, that's why you need to understand the naming concept of an image. You need not tell, okay, it should go to this registry, this repository. Your name, your image name should tell everything. So it goes to this particular registry, repository. Because tag is later, you need not write it. Now, Either it is any registry, whether it is public or private, whether it is ECR or whatever, the concept is same. Your image name should speak out, like it should tell the registry address, repository name, and so on. It says it was pushed. Now check out on this console, on this repository. Yes, do you see here? Yeah, and the hash code for like hash generated for the particular image pushed at the timing we pushed it. Understood, everyone? So once you create custom images, you could push to any registries this way, right? Particularly, we'll be storing on private registries like this one, container registry. Again, if you have anything else, you could push the same way, right? Actual flow is like in our pipeline, after packaging, like it has given a var file, pack it and create a Docker image, store it on some private registries, pull them and run it on a Kubernetes cluster for high availability, load balancing, scaling, and so on. Anyway, that's coming up. So yeah, first store your image on your registries this way. Am I clear till this part, all of you? Got it clear? Shall we proceed to create our own images, or any questions here? Okay. So yeah, my image is like this is how you push. Let us talk about now creating our own images. If you have any questions, let me know. So these are some sample images and all. Let's create our own image now. So when you create images, like there are multiple ways you can do that. One method, the standard method is like we have learned, it is through Docker file. This is the most standard method. Okay, from Docker file you build an image. From image you create a container. This is the best method, the standard method. But there is also another method. You could create your Docker image through running container. Means from a running container you can create an image. Okay, you can take a running container, create a Docker image. First, let us look into that, and then we'll talk about Docker file. Okay. So, how do you create an image from a running container? Let's take an example. I'm using Ubuntu official image. Ubuntu official image is a fresh Ubuntu installation. It's a fresh Ubuntu OS. It's like a minimal Ubuntu operating system, which will have just the operating system, nothing else. Okay, minimal Ubuntu operating system, that's all. So let's say you have started a container from this Ubuntu image. Okay, it's just having some Ubuntu. Let's say as per your project requirement on this Ubuntu, I need some SQL or else I need some PHP. So, okay, fine, you have logged into your container, installed PHP. Also, your project needs some SQL, you have also installed it. Perfect. Now you are working with your container, which meets all the project requirements. Perfect. Later on, again, if you want to start a new container, again the same process. Create a Ubuntu container, like you get a Ubuntu container, you have to install the packages over and again, right? Correct? You have to do these steps repetitively. Rather than this, I got an idea that rather than launching a container from this official image each time and install my project requirements, configure my container each time, why don't I save this particular state of the container into an image? Okay, means save this particular state of the container. What is the state? Which is having Ubuntu, PHP, SQL. So save this state into an image and run the container from this image. Means from next time onwards, rather than starting a container from this official image, let us start container from this new image, so that this container will have Ubuntu with PHP and SQL. I need not install them over and over again and again, right? So this is the concept of creating an image from a running container. You could save the state of the container. How to save the state of the container and all, we'll see. We'll see a demo on it. Is this much clear for all of you theoretically? Whether you create the images using this method or using this Dockerfile method, you may use any of the methods. The steps happen at the backend. Okay, the like how it works at the backend, how it creates at the backend is same. Only the thing is like you are doing it in a different way. That's all. The same happens at the backend. Like how your image is built at the backend remains same. Shall we go for the demo on this? Do respond so that I can understand you're following.
Yes, Preeti, can.
Thank you for confirming. Let us use the same. Okay, let us use the same image like we discussed, Ubuntu. I'm running a Ubuntu image in an interactive terminal. Interactive terminal mode because I want to do some configurations. I want to install some packages for the demo. Or else you could also start that in detached mode using -itd. Later on, you can also attach it. Anything is fine. Okay, so I'm starting an interactive terminal mode. I will also like to give my own name for the container using name option. Name, let's say test1 container. Okay, some name. See, container, like image is not there, so it has downloaded the image, container is created, and I become a root user of this container 8c6. It's a Ubuntu container. So here, let's say you could install any packages like Java, PHP, SQL. Installation steps you can check in Google. Okay, you can just like how do you install anything in any Ubuntu machine, Ubuntu virtual machine or server? The same way you can do. Our interest is not to learn the installation steps. I'll just make some change here. Let's say Vim package. I'm just making a small package. Vim package. Vim is an editor, right? It doesn't come by default for Ubuntu machine. See, you don't find Vim. I'm going to install this Vim package. First, update this package manager using apt-get update to get all the latest packages. And now let us install Vim using apt-get. You may go for any installation, any changes, okay? Apt-get.
Excuse me, Preeti, are these commands Ubuntu commands or Linux commands, ma'am? Because some commands vary, right?
These are all Linux only. Ubuntu, CentOS, these are all different distributions of Linux.
I mean, few
Like
commands
different,
I heard like
different,
for Linux and Ubuntu, few commands vary. It seems so. Is it true or not? This one.
yeah, some commands will be different. They're all different distributions of Linux and certain commands will be different. The package managers are different. In Linux, like in CentOS, you have yum package manager, right? Here the default package manager is apt-get. So a small difference will be there in the commands.
Yeah.
But both are Linux distributions. Both are Linux. Okay. So yeah, let us install this. See, because they're all different distributions, they're all Linux. That's why you can run Ubuntu container here on my CentOS EC2 instance. If it is Windows images, Windows containers, you cannot run there, right? We have learned OS compatibility in the Docker introductory class, like when we learn the differences. Only Linux images you can run. Different distributions are fine. So yeah, we have installed the package. Now Vim should be there. Earlier when we saw there is no Vim. See, now Vim is available. Vim is an editor, okay, a software to manage your files. So done. That's all is the change I want. So I have now Ubuntu with Vim. Okay, I just want to come out of this container. How to come out of this container and keep it running? I want to come out, but still I just want to keep it running. What is the command to come out of the container and keep it running? Yes, anyone? Have you completed your hands-on on yesterday's topic? Can anyone try answering? Okay, first, how to come out of this container, how to come to the Docker host. What exit command will do? Hello? If you cannot unmute, you can also type in the chat window. What exit command does? I think it's a simple question, right? Why you people are not responding?
Exit the um, uh, exit the shell where it's running.
Will be coming out of the container when you write exit, but your container will be stopped, right? You will be coming out of your container to your Docker host, but your container will be stopped. Now what I want is, I want to come out of the container, but I still want to keep it running. I don't want to stop my container. Not after using exit, Arvind, you are right, but not after using exit. Either exit or Control P, Control Q. Control P, Control Q will also help you come out of the container, but it will not stop the container. That is the difference between exit or Control P, Control Q. You could exit or Control P, Control Q. Okay, exit you will come out of the container. Come out from the container and stop it. Stop the container. Here Control P, Control Q also does the same. You can come out of the container, but will not stop the container. It will be like your container will be running, keep on running. So that's the difference. Remember them. They are very small commands, right? If you have done some hands-on, you could definitely remember that. So you may do exit, but I want to just come out and keep my container running. So Control P, Control Q. At least got it now. Can you recollect now? Okay. So I just came out of my container. Docker PS, see here, the container name is test1. Okay, this is my container, test1. It is running. See here, status up from 6 minutes. It was running from 6 minutes. Perfect. Now I want to save this test1, or else I want to save the state of this test1 into an image so that I'll get a new image. Next time onwards, if I run this new image, I should see like Ubuntu with Vim, whatever changes I have made. Okay, so how do you save the state of the container? That's where comes commit command. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so Docker commit. Okay, these are all different commands. See, actually we are going through like a 1 hour 10 minute session and all. It's so that you could do enough hands-on. Please make sure you're completing your commands. At least run the commands which we discussed in the class at least once before you join the next day. That's the best way to catch up with the course. Okay, so Docker commit, the container name, okay, and the image name, whatever you want to put. So I want to give like my own image. You may give this way, and later on if you want to push to ECR or Docker Hub, what you need to do, can you push directly Docker push my own image? Okay, first let me do this. First let me run this Docker commit container name or ID. You could also use always, wherever you use container name, you could use ID and vice versa. So Docker commit your container name or container ID and the image name you want to put to your image. I would like to put the tag name here as let's say it's coming from it's a package, it's image with a Vim package, right? I would like to put tag name as a Vim so that I could easily understand it's image with a Vim tag. See, tag name is like a description. It tells you, it gives you some information about what is present there. Okay, so run the command. What happens at the back end when you comment, I'll tell you that a few minutes later. First, let's see this. Okay, image should be created. Yeah, see here, my own image with the tag Vim, perfect. Now, shall we log into that? I mean, shall we run a container from that image? Till now we were running Ubuntu. Let us run this, any image. This is the command. Interactive terminal mode with a Vim tag. Is this command clear for all of you? Just running the image in interactive terminal mode. Earlier, like we run Ubuntu, I'm running my own image. See, I got the shell. There should be Vim, right? It should be apt-get, or like obviously it is Ubuntu, and then Vim should be there. See here, Vim package is there, means you will see this. Yes, Vim is there. You need not install again. That's all. I'm just coming out of my. Understood everyone how to create your custom images, like images of your own using this method? How to install packages, like you install Vim, you can install any package. How to pack your application, we'll learn that also. Is this much clear for all of you?
Yes, Preeti.
Understood? Any questions here or any confusions? So this is one of the ways you could create your own image. Now, okay, fine. I have got my image ready, created a simple method of committing your container. Okay, my image is ready. So I want to push to my Docker, my own image column. Can I do this? Will this work?
Mm,
Kiran says no. Why it will not work, Kiran? What should we do? I'm expecting
we need to
everyone.
give the repository details, right?
Exactly. See, your image name is not following the naming convention. It should have the registry address. Okay, fine. Registry address is not there, means Docker Hub. But repository username, where is username? And also, do you have this repository? Perfect. If you don't have repository, that is fine. It will create a repository by this name. But where is username? So let us do this. See, it was trying to consider, it was considering this as a username. See, requested access to the resource is denied. So, but I want to push to my account. Where is this Docker Hub? Yeah, let's say I want to push to this repository called my image. Or else if you want to push as a new repository also, perfect. So how to do that? Now, how can I push this image? I want to push this to DevOps trainer account on Docker Hub. How to do that? Tag command, exactly. We have to use tag command, right, Kiran? So Docker tag, the old image name, my own image, and where I want to push Docker up. So no registry. The username is, this is my account, and which repository. Do you want to push to any existing repositories? Then give that name. Or else, if you want to create a repository by this name, you could write the same name. If repository by this name doesn't exist, it will create a repository by this name and it will push there. Meaning, see, just come here. I don't have any repository as my own image. So if you push this, it will create a repository by this name. So that will work. So let us run this. No, yeah. See, it's my own image. I just wrote my own image. Means it will consider my own image with a tag latest. If you don't write tag name, means it will consider tag latest. But I don't have my image, my own image colon latest tag. So it says no such image. So if the tag name is something else other than latest, make sure you are writing the tag. Okay, now, yes, it might have created a copy of that image with a different name. Yes, perfect. Now you can push this. Docker push. Here I am using tag name as latest, so directly you can do this. Because my own image repository is not there, it will create and push it. Or else you might have used, when you're tagging, you might have used the name of the existing repository. But I didn't use the name of existing repository, so I should see a new repository here in few minutes. Let us wait. Okay, now push is done. Just come here. And here, do you see here? A repository by this name created. And if you go there, there's an image called latest tag. Perfect, right? Yeah, perfect. This is how you could push. Or else, rather than tagging and all, what you can do, whenever you are committing and creating your name, here, you are committing test1 container and giving your own name, right? Here itself, you could give some meaningful name, which will have registry address, repository name and all. So that later on, you need not tag it. Am I making sense? So it's up to you whether you give the proper name here itself or later on you tag it. So now if I want to push to ECR registry, how to do that? Again, tag it accordingly, like ECR. Here, if you want to push it, again tag it accordingly. You can view the push commands. We have already logged in. You need not log in again and again. So just come here. You have to tag it accordingly with this name, right? That's all. So tag it again with that name. I'm not doing it. Try doing it from your end. I have already done that in the beginning. See, this is how. Again, tag that image with the ECR registry address and push the image. Got it, all of you? So that's how you have created your own image and push the image. This is one of the methods creating your image from a running container. So this is one method. The second method is from a Docker file. Like create a Docker file. What is this Docker file? Docker file is a text file. Okay, and in this Docker file, you'll be writing some instructions in your Docker file. Like, what are those instructions? We'll be writing some instructions in this Docker file. Okay, write the Docker file. Docker file is a text file. Put some Docker instructions and build it. When you build it, what happens? It will create an image. But actually, what happens when you build the image? At the back end, for each Docker instruction you write, okay, for every Docker instruction you write in your Docker file, a corresponding file system layer will be created. Okay, these are all different file system layers. All these file system layers will be stacked one above the other, which makes your image. So what is your image? Till now we were talking about images, but we didn't talk about what is present in your image. Image is nothing but a stack of file system layers piled one above the other, stacked one above the other. And all these file system layers will be managed by Docker daemon. Docker daemon will take care of it. You need not go and explicitly check those layers and all. Your image is nothing but a stack of file system layers. Those file system layers will be created with the Docker instructions you write when you build the image. This is, when you build a Docker file, this is what happens at the backend. In the earlier process also, same method is happening when you are committing the container. But in this method, you can visualize it. I can show you these steps to you in this method. Okay, so just remember this diagram. Like whenever you write a Docker file, okay, you put some Docker instructions there and you build the Docker file. You build a Docker file means what happens? For every Docker instruction you have, a file system layers will be created, and those file system layers piled one above the other is called your image. That's nothing but your image. And all these file system layers are read only. You could not modify, you could not edit an image. In the beginning also I said image is a static read only file. All these file system layers are read only. Actually the topmost layer will be write layer, where you could like change your container name and so on, like you are assigning your own name, that's all. Everything else will be read only. Means, okay, let's suppose here I am having some images, right? Like this particular image, we have so many bunch of images. You cannot modify those images. No, never, not possible. If you want a modifications, what you have to do? You have to modify your Docker file, maybe add fourth step or delete some steps. Okay, build it again. Another file system layer will be added. Actually, here I should show, like whenever you make any modification, file system layer will be added at the topmost layer, as a topmost layer, not here, here. Okay, just a small correction. Like you make a modifications and file system, new file system layers will be added top of it. So that is your image. Means always you can modify your Docker file. If you need any modifications to your image, modify the Docker file, build it, create a new Docker image. Okay, that image will have the new file system layers, or file system layers are deleted, added, and so on. Right, that is your new image. That's how you make a new images with the modification, but not, you cannot modify existing images. You cannot edit them. Right, so now let's go, let's write a Docker file, let's add some Docker instructions, let's build and see those file system layers and what is present inside an image. Yeah, let's proceed. I'm erasing this. I believe this is clear for all of you. Now let's create a Docker file. You could create your Docker file in any location, but always the best practice is place your Docker file in a separate directory. Like I'm creating a directory here called Docker files. Okay, you can give any name to your directory. Done. So create your Docker file here. Always the best practice, the name should be Docker file with no extension. Okay, create your Docker file here. See, always the best practice is, rather than creating the files from your command line, create them from your editors, like from your local computer, and then push to GitHub. That way also you can do. Anyway, for now I'm writing them here. From, see, always the first most Docker instruction will be from command. From tells you what should be the base image. Always base image is mandatory. Meaning, say you are creating an image, right? Like let's suppose I want an image. Earlier what we did, we created Ubuntu with Vim, right? We have created Ubuntu with Vim. The same thing I'm going to create now. Okay, so Ubuntu installation, Ubuntu image is already there. So many official images were already there for Ubuntu. You need not create us from the scratch, like you need not configure the OS and all. So always take some base image, above that make the modifications. So Ubuntu means it will pull the image from here. You could use any image, any version of your choice. There are so many tags of this. You could use anything. Put the tag name if it is other than latest. Or else if you want to get from Elastic Container Registry Service of AWS, put that complete name including the registry address. Am I making sense? Ubuntu means I don't put the registry address, means by default Docker Hub. I didn't give repository name means official. Okay, and the repository name is Ubuntu, and then the tag is latest. This is what it will consider when I say simply Ubuntu. If you want to pull something from ECR, yes, ECR registry address, and then the repository name, and then the tag. Okay, anything you can use as a base image. Generally, we use some official images from Hub as a base image. Above that, we will modify. So yeah, it will pull this Ubuntu. Then this is optional, like an author name if you want, who created it. That's optional. And then now whatever instructions you want to run during the creation or during the build of the image, they comes under run command. Okay, like during the creation, what you want to do? During the creation, whatever instructions, whatever commands you want to run, they will go under run instruction of your Docker file. Like I want to first do apt-get update. That's what we did, right? And then run apt-get install bin. Okay. Also give Y option because it's not an interactive mode. Yeah. So yes. So these commands will be executed during the creation of the image. And that's all. That's all is a small image which will put, which will install Vim there. That's all. And also, if you want to run any command during the launch of the container, that's where CMD command comes in. Any case you could put, I'm just writing here caps. Let's say here I would like to do, I would like my container to display some welcome message. Bin echo, hello from my container. Right? So I'm repeating, your run commands will be executed during the creation, during the build of your image. These will be executed during the creation or during the build. This will be executed during the launch of your container, during the build of your image or during the creation of your image. Whereas CMD will be executed during the launch of the container from that particular image, right? So any installations, any changes you want, they goes under run instruction. Whereas if you want to execute something when your container is launched, do you remember hello world image? It will display some welcome message, right? Means it was created with a Docker file with the CMD bin echo. It's a script, right? It's a shell command which will display some welcome message. Understood those 4 instructions, all of you? Other instructions also we'll discuss, but first I got all these 4 instructions, everyone? Should I repeat anything here? Okay, so any questions, let me know. So yeah, those are the Docker instructions for now. So let me save this Docker file. This is my Docker file now. So like we discussed, what should happen? For every Docker instruction you wrote, okay, a file system layer will be created. Those file system layers will be stacked up, which gives your own image. From Ubuntu, what happens here is, do you see here from Ubuntu? Ubuntu is an image, already it has got some file system layers. So on those file system layers, your new file system layers will be appended. Means always your image is the old image plus the new file system layers. Understood that, all of you? See, this is some existing old image. These are Ubuntu file system layers. Ubuntu is already an image. So this is your old image. Plus some new file system layers will give you the new image. Have you noticed whenever we are pushing or pulling, it was showing like the layer already exists. It was pulling, isn't it? Layer already exists means already that image is there, the new layers were getting pulled. Okay, this is what happens at the back end, and this is your image. Image is always file system layers. Old image, new image, difference will be these new file system layers. So already if you have Ubuntu, if you are pulling some other version of Ubuntu, like let's say you already have latest, you are pulling something else like 16, it need not pull the whole image, it has to just pull the file system layers, that's all, like the different file system layers, that's all. Anyway, now let us build it. How do you build? Docker build command -t means tag name your image. let's say I would like to name it as my own image colon Dockerfile, so that I would understand it's coming from Dockerfile. Okay, it's coming from the method of Dockerfile, and the location of your Dockerfile, including the path. Generally, we run this build command from the location of your Dockerfile. That's a best practice, or that's a general practice. So dot. Dot means present working directory, the current location you are running the command. See here also, docker build -t dot. Generally, we build this from the location of Dockerfile. You can skip if build image is already built. That's all. Okay. Image building from Dockerfile instructions were also available here. That's what we were doing. Okay. Of course, this is on AWS. Anyway, just come back. Okay, so let us build our image. Again, I'm explaining docker build -t, tag your image, give you the name of your choice. If you want to push to any account, you could give the appropriate name here itself so that you need not tag it later. Or else give some name here, later on you could tag it. It's up to you. Dot. See here, do you see? I'm having 5 instructions in my Docker file, right? Okay, let it finish. I'll show. See, just come here. I'm having how many instructions in my Docker file? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So see, for every Docker instruction, like first instruction is from Ubuntu, a file system layer is created. This is the file system layer ID. Second one, another file system layer. Third one also file system layers. For fourth and fifth also, you could see here, right? So successfully then built the image. So Docker images. See my own image colon Docker file. I have seen my image, right? My image is ready. Yeah. Before running it, let me show you like what is present inside. Docker history image name. My own image colon Docker file. See, these are all the file system layers. See here. This is the base image Ubuntu. See here. This is the base image 72.MB my Ubuntu. See here size of this, right? So I took this base image. Above that I have added something like maintainer name and all. Then apt-get update, apt-get install, added these layers. Total made it 172 MB. That's how you get the size of your image. And either you create through Docker file or either you create it from running container, size of these new images are same. Because whether you create from Docker file, this is from Docker file, this is from running container. Whatever be the method, what is present inside is same. You could check the history of this also. But yeah, you could see here clearly. So 72 plus these make it 172. You could add them, which makes your 172 MB. That's how you have the size of your image. Making sense, all of you? Understood, everyone? See, these are the things which happens at the back end. Okay, like what is present inside your image, how the image size is constituted, how do you reduce the size of your image. These are all important from the point of interview as well. To know the technical depth, like how depth you have, how much knowledge you have on the basic concepts. Even though those are basics, many of the candidates will be missing these concepts. So it's very important you should go through them, right? So always the best practice is use the lightweight base images. Means you should choose a base image which is very lightweight. Of course, we have used, you can use anything, but best practices, okay, there are some best practices. Always use the lightweight image as a base image. Okay, like you have something like BusyBox, a base image which you can use as a base image, which is a Linux image on which you can make your configuration. So that, see, always why are we going for containers? One of the main reasons is they are lightweight. Why they are lightweight? Because yeah, they are having minimal OS. Their base images, the actual image should be very light. Right? Always choose some base image which is a lightweight and which is officially supported. And yeah, I'll run our custom image also. Give me a few minutes. See here, we are used till now run command, cmd command, right? There are also other Docker instructions we'll be using as we go by, but just let me list them. Something like env command means if you want to set environment variables, like we have set Java home in your container, if you want to set Java home, some environment variable and value. This is another Docker instruction. We have seen 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one. And there is something like copy, to copy any files from host system to container location. Add instruction. Add also does the same, but it has privileges to also download any files from a URL and copy to a container location. See, we are going to use them. I'm just listing them here. Okay. There is something like work directory. You can set some working directory, like where it should install or where the actual commands should run. Some path inside your container as a working directory. Or else you could also set some, port number, expose. What is this expose? We'll learn maybe tomorrow. So yeah, these are some of the other Docker instructions we'll be using. But before going through them, let me show you Docker files of official images. See, Ubuntu official, every image has also developed from the same method from Dockerfile. Okay, so you could also check those Docker files of official images. Go to the official website, and here you will see, supported tags and respective Dockerfile links. Dockerfile is a text file. Where do you store Docker files? Generally on repositories like GitHub, because they're all text files. Again, you could maintain different versions of your Docker files. Like I said, create your Docker file, store it on Hub, pull it and build it. I'll show you the complete flow also in the coming up sessions. Just check here some Docker file. See, it is on GitHub. From what they have used as a base image, they have used Scratch as a base image. Again, what is the Scratch? Scratch is an empty image. If you don't want to use the existing official images, if you want to also configure your own operating system, everything on your own, there is something like Scratch. Again, an official image, but an explicitly empty image, especially for building images from scratch. See here, the most useful in the context of building images such as Debian, BusyBox, and super minimal images. Like if you want to create a minimal images, like the minimal operating system, you could take Scratch and develop about it. But we don't generally do it. We develop on official images. But yeah, coming back, your Ubuntu is created with this, and they have configured the operating system. Do you see that? It was in the tarball. It's a tar file. Also, you could check other links. See here, Ubuntu image. Yeah, not only Ubuntu, any image. Let's take some CentOS. Okay, CentOS official image. Everything will be developed from Dockerfile. Just going to some. See, again, they have taken, because they're all operating system OS images. So they have some tar file to run your CentOS operating system, and some labels and which command it should run. Bin bash means you get the shell when you run the container. So when you run the image in the interactive terminal mode. Or else, let's say I want something for SQL images. Just go there. Sorry. Here you have some images. So yeah, see here they have taken some Debian as a base image, like Ubuntu as some base image. Debian is also related to Ubuntu OS. So They have added some run instructions. Do you see here? Run, env, how to set environment variables, env, run commands. Yeah, all these are run commands, so many run commands. And then copy commands, and then expose. Expose we'll discuss tomorrow on CMD. So that's how every image will be coming up from your Docker. Got an idea, all of you? We'll be creating some more Docker files as well. So this is how Docker files are managed. Always the best practice is create your Docker file here. Tomorrow we shall do that. Create your Docker file in your local computer. Use some best editors which can help you manage your Docker files very easily, and then push them to Hub. Pull them and build it to get an image. Okay, on your EC2 instances, on your Docker servers, pull them and build it. Am I making sense? Anyone lost? Any confusions? Am I clear? No response means confused or following.
Yes, Preeti, following.
Thank you, Vamsi, for confirming. So see here, Docker images. I have a bunch of images, right? We have created this one as of now. Shall we also run this and see? There should be Vim in it, right? So let us also verify it. Docker run -it my own image colon Docker file. So what is the expected output of this? Running the image in the interactive terminal mode. What is the expected output of this command? What should this command do now? You get the shell of the container, right? You are running it in interactive terminal mode. You should get the shell, means you should go inside the container. You can check if Vim is there or not. That's what the image I have made, right? So just go here. But I'm not getting the shell. Why? Why it is displaying the welcome message? Why are not we getting the shell? Some of the containers would be made with such commands so that it will not allow you to go inside. Even hello world is also same, right? You will see some welcome message like this. But I want to go to the shell, but why is this happening? Actually, if you look into the base image of my new image, it was developed from Ubuntu official image. Agree with this, all of you? I have taken that as a base image. For this base image, actually, whenever I'm running -it, it is giving me shell because here I have cmd command bin bash. You can check the official Ubuntu image again. Bin bash is the cmd command. Bin bash means you get the terminal, you get the shell. But now here I have written bin echo in cmd. This bin echo will override the default bin bash. This is overwriting default bin bash available in the base image. So you don't get the shell when you do -it. So what you have to do in your custom image, you have to add bin, a cmd, bin bash rather than bin echo so that you get the shell. Or else if you want to overwrite that from the command line, you can run this and add bin bash here. So that this bin bash, it will override the cmd bin echo in the Docker file so that you get the shell. Right? Now I got the shell because the bin bash which I wrote from the command line is overwriting bin echo in the Docker file. And yes, I should have bin package. Got it, all of you? So sometimes if your container doesn't allow you to go in, make sure to write bin bash so that whatever whatever commands it was running in cmd will be overwritten and you get the shell. So that's about creating your own images. And yeah, I have created my own image but let's say I want to make some modifications to this image. Can I modify this image? Can I modify this existing image? Never. You cannot edit an image which is already there. If you want a new image, go here, edit this Docker file, maybe add any instructions or delete anything, whatever you want, you can do here. Build it again, create a new image. Right? So another Docker instruction we need to learn immediately is expose instruction. Means let's suppose, okay, this is some container where some services are there. You want to expose that port. What is exposing the port and what is this port mapping or port forwarding concept? This is required to access the services of your container from outside the container. So that's where expose comes in. First, you need to learn port forwarding or port mapping before we use expose instruction. We shall take up the concept tomorrow, port forwarding concept. And why should you do this? Like, why should you install some services on your image and your containers? Why not on your system directly? Again, we have discussed this, how Docker changed development process, how Docker changed deployment process. In the Docker theoretical class, I've explained. If you remember, let's suppose this EC2 instance is my development machine. I'm a developer, okay? I need some services here. Let's say I want some SQL service or PHP service. Rather than installing everything, like let's say I would install Java here. Maybe I want PHP. I would install SQL. Rather than installing directly on my server, I would have a container where I'll put all of them. Okay, and I'll use the same container for my development, because if I install here, let's suppose tomorrow I have to develop on, or else I have to test it on Mac. Again, the installation steps for Java, PHP, SQL will be different, right? Rather, you can create a container, use the same for other environments as well, right? So that it reduces the installation burden of doing it on different environments. Okay, so you need not do the environment setup need not done repetitively, either it is for test environments or development environments. So whatever services I need, I don't install on my development machine directly. Rather, I could put them in my containers, access those servers on my host machine, like on my development server. So how to do that? Like through port forwarding, you can access the content data of your containers from outside your container. So we shall take up that concept tomorrow. See, as we go by, we are proceeding into the advanced concepts. Please try to put some more additional effort. Okay, make sure you are doing hands-on. Whatever we did, at least once execute the commands. Okay, that will help you a lot. Any more questions here? Any confusions, anything should I repeat, you can ask me without any hesitation. So let me summarize, okay? Let me summarize so that you could learn them topic wise. First, we discussed about private registries today. Okay, what are the things we have learned? Private registries, AWS ECR service, wherein we have configured AWS CLI. We have installed it and configured it. This is the first part we discussed. Then what we did? We have discussed about creating your own image. Creating own images from a running container. Through commit command, right? Docker commit. So this is one thing. Next thing is creating an image from Docker file. But in this method, we have seen the history of the image, size of the image, and we have seen official Docker files, like Docker files of official images. And they were all stored on GitHub with the best practice to maintain versions of your Docker file. We'll do that tomorrow. Just push any file, like any file, push it on Docker file. Docker Hub. GitHub. Like any other files we have worked with where we have pushed our code to GitHub. Similarly, push these Docker files also to GitHub and store them. right? This is what we discussed. In this Docker file, different instructions like from run instruction, CMD instruction we have discussed. And we have seen official images, history of them, size of them, what happens at the back end. This is what we have seen. And once you create your own image, if you want to push to any registries of your choice, tag it. This is another important thing. Tag your images. So this is what we have discussed. Okay, first get the concept of private registries clear. Then creating your own image with Docker commit is very simple. Okay, just use some image, create a container, go inside, make some commands, like just run some commands, commit it. And run the image to check if the configurations were saved or not. Here through Dockerfile. When we are talking about Dockerfile, we discuss about file system layers, they were stacking up, the size. When you check the history, you get the size of your image as well, how you make your images with the minimal base images, official Docker files we have listed. Tomorrow, we shall discuss about another Docker instruction exposed through, this is for tomorrow, through port forwarding. Okay, and we'll see how to access any services inside the containers from your host. We'll have a look at Nginx, Tomcat, Jenkins as a Docker images tomorrow. And then we'll start packing our WAR file, address book WAR file into a Docker image. Okay, that's how we are connecting the flow. I think you could all sense the flow. Can you all see the flow, like the pipeline flow where we are going? As we go by, we should deploy our WAR file into our own image through job in Jenkins. Jenkins, Docker, GitHub integration, right? That's where we should go step by step. All right, then that's all from my end for today. Any more questions, let me know, or else we shall wind up here. All right, then bye everyone. Have a great day. See you on tomorrow. Thank you all.